This is the magicwordpodcast.com.
Hello, this is Scott Wells for the magicwordpodcast.com. This week's episode is brought to you by the Friends of the Magic Word. Those are the ones who, with their financial support, both in pledges and donations, help keep this podcast free and open to the rest of the world. Thank you guys very much, guys and gals, for helping to keep this going. I want to welcome this week Ted Danger, who has joined the Friends of the Magic Word. Thank you and welcome, Ted. Glad that you are now part of the group then as well. So thank all of you, and if you can help us in any small way or large way, it would be greatly appreciated. You can just go to the magicwordpodcast.com. You'll see a link there that says Become a Friend of the Magic Word. See a video where it explains a little bit more details about why we could use your support. We are also brought to you this week by Magic at the Beach. That convention is going to be coming up, gosh, just like next week. It's going to be October 5th, 6th, and 7th in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. You don't want to miss that. Let me also point out that although Charles Bach and I have been talking the last few weeks on the podcast about the great talent they're going to be having, the contests and the location, and many reasons why you should come, if you are a golfer at all, you should seriously consider perhaps coming early and or staying late and taking advantage of some of the wonderful public golf courses that are available there. Myrtle Beach is a premier location if you're a golfer of any place in the world, that people travel just to come over here and play golf. And you get the advantage not only of playing golf, but of seeing a stellar lineup of some great talent. So if you're a golfer, think about that. I'm actually coming in a little bit early and going to play a round of golf myself while I'm there. Well, speaking of a few things that I've been doing, I did just get back from Germany, and oh my goodness, such a lovely time. I wish I had time to share with you all of the many experiences I had and an opportunity to meet with several magicians while I was there, and I enjoyed Oktoberfest for a few days and then lectured to the group in Munich, thanks to Yui Sperlich and Gunden. Thank you very much for hosting me. It was a wonderful group. We had about 40 people there at the lecture, and then we drove up through Prague, spent the night there. Beautiful city, then on into Berlin, and there I had Freddie Roots, who was my host, and got to, he showed us around the city. The Berlin Marathon was going on, but we went over to the Brandenburg Gate, where that is the Checkpoint Charlie over in that way, and see some of the remnants of the wall, the East and West Berlin Wall, and then I lectured to a group of about 20 enthusiastic magicians then on that Friday evening. I guess it would have been a little bit larger group, but they had another lecture just the night before on Thursday, so it was kind of back-to-back there. So I appreciate everyone who did come out. From there, we headed down to the south into the Alps, and actually through Garmisch and into Austria, and then over to Neuschwanstein Castle, which is the fairy tale castle that the Disney castle is based upon, Cinderella's castle. It's supposed to be perhaps the most visited castle in the world. Anyhow, phenomenal, great weather, nice and cool in the evenings, and then headed back to the United States. So it was, I had a great time with my two sons, and so it was some memories that we created. I brought along some of my wife's ashes that we spread different places throughout Germany. So she got to come with us then as well. Well, anyhow, thank you guys very much for joining us here this week, where we've got a great guest, Chris Capehart, who is a street magician, but he also performs at a lot of corporate parties, as well as cruise ships. And at his age, which is in the 70s, I'm going to say, he's got a nice little running gag that he does with his age throughout his show. But anyhow, he gives not only some great tips and advice and stories from the street, but also things that we could use wherever you work, regardless if you don't work the streets. There are some things that you can apply to your own magic act where you're performing inside or banquet halls or country clubs or wherever that, or restaurants, wherever that you might work. Great conversation. It went very quickly, and I hope that you enjoyed as much as I enjoyed having a chat with him. Please welcome my guest this week, Master Magician Chris Capehart, here on The Magic Word. Today I've got a guest that is someone that many of you have seen, perhaps, if you attend magic conventions from time to time, or you've been out in New York and perhaps have seen him at Monday Night Magic or, golly, a lot of other places, perhaps even on the street. I assume in and around Central Park, but we'll talk about where he goes and everything then, too. A gentleman who's been doing magic for a number of years and started out, I believe, actually not doing magic, but he was in a mailroom for a law firm for a long time, and then he was inspired by a magician who had come through, Presto somebody, I believe, and then later in 1979 decided, hey, I think I could do this on a full-time basis, and started doing magic in the streets. And he then is, of course, very well known for his linking ring routine, and just one of the funniest guys and most congenial fellows that you'll ever meet. And I love the man because he's the only guy who's just a wee bit older than me, but not by much.
Not by much.
And here's my friend, and yours too, Chris Capehart. Hey there, Chris.
Hey, man. Is that a wee bit older? I'm 95. Depending how long.
And before this interview is over,
Yeah.
you're going to be 105.
Right before the interview is over, right?
Well, now, you did you ever know, was it Jeff Sheridan? I think he was another street magician in
He was
New
a street
York.
performer in Central Park. He never worked the streets. He only worked the park.
Okay.
You know.
So what's the difference between a street performer and a park performer?
One don't go in the streets.
Oh.
He stayed in the park. He
Okay.
only did the park on the weekends. And
Okay.
was Jeff, and he worked on a statue in the park, and he took ownership of this one statue.
Huh.
And he stayed in that statue for years, and he performed, and he was like the most. He's not funny. He was a very serious magician, and his slights were just
he did
impeccable.
manipulation and
His
everything, card
manipulation was
fans and all that
insane.
kind of stuff.
It was the best manipulation you've ever seen at that time. You know that.
Wow. No, I've heard about him, and I remember he was in that book of World's Greatest Magic,
Yeah.
some time ago is when I first had heard of him and never got a chance to go out and see him. So working in the park, do you have a different kind of clientele?
Well, you got people walking through the parks and stuff like that, and they give you and I guess when you ask for donations at the end, they give you what they got, and they got kids in the park, whatever. But it was only in the park. Everyone used to say, goes to the park to see Jeff, and I went to the park to see on Jeff. So I thought, hey, this is cool. Let me try that. I only knew one trick. So
What was that one trick
I used to take a
with the red silk?
yeah, and you know the method.
Yeah, and
I
just
used to vanish
appear.
it and make it appear, vanish it and make it appear.
That was your one and only.
I didn't know any other tricks. That was it. And I had to put that together because I got something to do salt with.
Oh.
I was supposed to vanish salt, and then I was supposed to put a piece of cloth inside and cut it or burn it or put a cigarette inside, something like that. Well, I don't smoke. I don't smoke. You know what I'm saying? I didn't have anything else, but I did have the same cloth I was using. So I started putting the cloth inside, and boom, the next thing you know, it became a phenomenon. I mean, seriously, I had more magicians copying this routine than you ever want to see, just by putting the silk inside, making it advance, and I put a whole story to it.
Yeah.
I used to tell people, you want to see how this works? I wasn't going to tell them how it works for real, but it would get them to come up, and I would bait them in and say, hey, I'm going to tell you how this works. And then I lead them down this path. I never told them.
Right. Well, when you have one trick, you have to, it's all about presentation, all about personality.
Exactly.
Try
There's
to get
nothing
them
else.
to stay.
There's nothing else.
Yeah.
You have to build up and all personality, how you talk, and everything, to make them stay. And at the end, if they gave you money, you're successful.
Did you have some sort of a great way of asking for tips at the end?
Oh, yeah. I always start off with a very simple thing. I mean, before I didn't know what I was doing. You know, like I said, I saw Jeff in the park, and I thought I'd do the same thing. I got into a fight with Jeff.
Did you really? Physical
fight.
Fisticuffs.
Yeah,
Okay.
because Jeff and I disagreed on a couple of things, and I have to admit now that I'm old enough to admit that Jeff was right, because I just jumped on the statue, so he showed up, and I was like, first come, first serve. It's not your statue.
Right.
But, of course, he was there for all that long time, so I gave him respect at the end and said, you know what, you're right. And it dawned on me one day that I was walking down the street of 44th from Broadway, and I said, all the people are here 7 days a week. The park was only a weekend thing. So I stopped right there on 44th from Broadway and started doing magic, and behold, about an hour later, I made like $300. And I was
Wow.
like, so I said, whoa. This is it.
Yeah, I don't need to go to the park.
So exactly. So for the next 3 years, that's where I was, 44th from Broadway, right across the street from Tanners.
Now, I have talked with Doug Kahn and many others who have worked, Cosmo and a lot of street magicians. And I know there are different places that some people stay. I mean, Doug lives in New Orleans, and there are a lot of magicians who might migrate through, like Cellini and others, Gazzo, et cetera.
Yeah,
they do travel about.
I travel.
Do you travel?
Yeah,
okay.
Chicago. I worked on the streets of Chicago. I worked at the Taste of Chicago. I worked in New Orleans doing the festivals and stuff like that. I worked in Florida. Then I would go to California and work the beach and stuff like that. So when it got cold, I would go to California, Florida,
or Key West, or
someplace. Key West. But this moving around took a lot. It took a whole lot. I did that for...
You look great for 32.
By the time, give me 10 minutes, I'll be 64. But you'd be surprised how this takes a toll on your life. So I got married at around 20.
Okay.
And
still with the same lady?
No. She gave me a choice. She didn't like magic. Huh? She wanted me to stay in the mailroom. The mailroom where I can go there, I can come in a suit.
Have a 9-to-5 job.
Had a 9-to-5 job. It was paying me decent money. In New York City,
insurance
I was living in Park Slope, which was kind of expensive. So it was in Brooklyn. And it was okay. And then I had, no, it wasn't working out too well because she hated the magic part. And so I guess she gave me an ultimatum one day and said to me, hey, it's magic or me. And I said, boy, I'm going to miss you.
Not a hard decision.
It wasn't even close. It wasn't even close. Let's face it, I can get a woman.
Yeah. But magic was, even then, so much of a part of your life.
It was part of my life. It was everything. So I enjoyed magic a lot.
You knew right away. When you saw Presto, that was it, huh?
He put a sponge ball in my hand, and when it opened up, I said, okay, I got to learn to do that.
Yeah, okay? I'm all in.
I was like floored, man. I mean, it was just a sponge ball, but Lord knows what it did to my brain.
Yeah. Now, he was a circus performer, is that right, or something? Or?
Well, he worked for a circus.
Okay.
But he performed everywhere. But that's why I saw him. I saw him in the American Circus, and they used to rent out a theater and put on a circus act inside of a theater.
Is that kind of like what the Big Apple Circus?
Yeah,
it's kind
of like that.
Okay.
But it was like that, and this was at the Apollo Theater in Harlem.
I was going to say it's mostly black at the Apollo Theater back then, wasn't it?
Yeah, but the circus wasn't.
Okay.
No.
So they brought in white people.
No, yeah. The circus was. They went everywhere, but Presto was advertised as the African American magician.
Oh, was Presto black also?
Presto was black, but he was extremely light skinned.
Okay.
So when I saw this poster, and I said, "Well, come on, really?" So I went and saw him, and I saw him, and I was like, he was doing cigarettes back then. Vanishing cigarettes and produced cigarettes, and it was floored.
So he was not only the first magician you saw, but the first black magician. So you probably had...
Oh, before that, I had not a concept.
Right.
Two things didn't even match.
Because I talked to some people who have said, I didn't know that there were black magicians.
No, but very few people will tell you right now that even today, seriously, you can write, a lot of people say, no, I've never seen a black magician before. No, but that's what it was. With me, the same thing. And then once I learned a very little bit, I started doing the streets. From the streets, I started adding stuff and started adding a cane and started adding other. Once I found the magic shop, I went
floating
crazy.
Cane, vanishing cane,
appearing cane.
Okay, Fantasio thing.
Yeah, and then you start adding more. The first time somebody offered me a magic show was when I was working for the same law firm, Dry and Traub, and they offered me a show. One of the lawyers, and I did the show. I was going to do the show for free. I was going to just go do some magic for this kid. And at the end of the show, he gave me $300.
And you thought,
I lost my mind. I said, wait a minute, let me get this right. I make about $600 here before taxes.
A week?
40 hours a week. I just made $300, and it took me a half an hour.
Let me do the math on that.
I did the math real quick. Didn't stay at school long, but screw it, I got this.
Now, how could your wife possibly have said, nope, you keep working at $60 a week?
Because she wasn't looking at money. She was looking at prestige. What do you do for a living? What I'm going to tell your friends you do for a living. Lots of magicians are divorced. And a lot of them are divorced because of if they can become famous magicians, then they're fine.
Yeah.
If they're just magicians, and you just like a little hobby. And then she's like, I can't tell my friends you're a magician. I can't tell that kind of thing.
I understand. Hadn't thought about that.
So one thing led to another, and boom, that's it. But guess what? But trust me, it was the best thing that ever happened to me because I didn't really excel in magic until I got divorced.
And then you were free. It's like I don't have to worry about her.
It was so much better.
Huh.
As a matter of fact, it didn't even take 2 weeks.
Really?
2 weeks I was making $2,000-3,000 a week.
Okay.
Doing magic.
On the street or doing more shows?
On the
or
street. Just
okay.
on the street.
On the street.
So magic came on the shows after you put out flyers. I had to make a flyer up, and as I was performing, I was letting people know that I was available to do these parties.
Oh.
At the same time, I was building up enough stuff to do nice-sized parties. Right
Now,
there.
that was the early 80s?
Yeah, even though I didn't know what I was really doing,
that's
I
pretty...
just put together a bunch of magic tricks. Matter of fact, the first magic show that I did that got paid $1,000 for was Brooklyn College. And I really didn't know what I was doing. So I'm getting paid $1,000. I'm all thrilled because I've never gotten this kind of money for doing an hour show. So I go to Tannen's and I buy a Temple Veneer. The Temple Veneer was $500.
Well, you needed an assistant too, didn't you?
There's the next problem. I knew plenty of women.
Okay.
Girls.
Yeah.
So offered another girl, you know what I'm saying, another $50 to help me out doing the show. So she decided she's going to do the show. She was excited about it too. But then I didn't have a car. Right? So I kind of got a taxi there and a taxi back, which cost me like $60 each way. Right? Then I bought a razor blade trick and a bunch of magic tricks that they basically do, you know. And by the time I was through, I was like $1,500 in magic that I bought, right? I'm getting paid $1,000. I just spent $1,500, right?
Yeah, it's an investment.
And nothing went right.
Oh, mercy!
Everything it was on a football field that had rained the night before.
Oh, mercy.
And the Temple of Veneer has legs on it,
right?
And it sunk down into the thing,
and
the girl rolled out.
That's not even funny.
Because it has a top one that falls apart.
Of course, yeah.
So the girl just fell out. So that didn't work. And the razor blades, I forgot which to switch. So I was terrified to do it. So I didn't do it at all.
I was going to say that
I didn't bother doing it because I was saying
it really been dangerous.
It was a lesson in practice before you go out and do stuff.
Yeah.
And have plenty of time before you do something.
And check your environment.
Check your environment. It was so much more. There was so much more I learned that day about anything at all. So
that's the day you became a professional.
Well, no, that's the day I'm heading that way.
Yeah.
I'm still not there yet. It took me quite a while before I figured out how this thing works. And instead of buying magic, Presto told me to stop buying magic for a while. He said, "Don't buy any more magic," because I was buying magic every week. You know, you get enthused. You know,
you get a habit. Yeah,
it's something that you just go.
Well, you had Tannen's also.
Tony wasn't any help. Tony wasn't any help because Tony and the Herbs sold me everything under the sun.
If they saw you coming, they said, "This is what you need."
Here comes Chris. Let's convince him he needs one of these.
Yeah, they put that on the countertop.
And I was pretty easy to convince too. If it was electronic. Whatever, I bought all kinds of stuff. Man, I can't tell you how much money I spent. I was spending half my paycheck on just magic. And then later on, I learned that you should read a book. Okay. So somebody showed me the Royal Road to Card Magic.
Great book.
And that did it for me because there was things in there that you could do with your hands and no money involved, just hands. And then I met Ross. David Ross, who taught me some coin stuff. And he taught me how to hold a coin, how to palm a coin, and stuff like that.
He used to hang out at Tannen's, I think, also.
Everybody did. Everybody was at Tannen's. Tannen's was the spot to go to.
Harry Lorraine,
there was
everybody.
no better place to go to Tannen's. They had table there. They had the table there. You had to hang out. You left there on Saturday. When they closed up, everybody went down to the governor's restaurant, hung out at the governor's restaurant. You learned so much stuff, man. And they
moved around town. Where was that at the time when you started going?
45th and Broadway.
Okay.
I was right across. I worked right across the street from it. I didn't know they were there for a year.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. I used to go to another magic shop, and that magic shop didn't tell me about Tannen's. I went to an old beat-up magic shop, right? But that one for a long time, but no one told me about it.
So then after you figured out where Tannen's was, that after you made your money on the street, you go right straight on up the steps.
Life was Tannen's. And then so many people came out to see me because I didn't know what the hell I was doing. But I was getting crowds like crazy, and I was entertaining the crowd really good. and people would come around, which I didn't know was budding young magicians, including Doug Henning. They would stand around and just watch me. Then people would come do a tanner and say, "Oh, I want that trick he's doing," and there was no real trick. So Tony would just sell them a red silk and a thumbtack. Yeah. And now everybody today, in their case, has a red silk and a thumbtack. And that's where that whole routine came from. And after that, I started doing the rings, and the rings really just lit up.
It's large, it's visual, it makes noise and attracts attention.
Exactly. It worked well for a long time. But then I didn't know I was doing any special. I was just doing what I started playing around with.
You didn't read a routine, you just kind of put something together.
I put something together and did this thing and did it the fastest way possible. And so I created this, I didn't realize it was a move, but to link it, because I hated what I saw. I did see the original ring by Miller, but it all
Charlie Miller?
Yeah, it had this sawing motion.
Oh, okay.
That I didn't like, because it looked like he was trying to hook something all the time. It was always like this, like this, like this. And I changed it to a karate move.
Oh.
And a karate move is how you put your hand through a brick. It's a stop motion. Boom, and just stop. Same thing as the ring. Boom, stop.
Got it.
That's it.
Understand.
So that's where that move came from. And I know it looked good, and the audience knew it looked good. And because people couldn't see it from a distance, I used to get down off the soapbox and walk over to them, one by one, so they could see it.
Which is what you still do today.
And that's how that whole routine came about. And Tony loved it. And so Tony filmed it. And then Tony said to me, I'll buy that ring routine from you. And I was like, you could sell a ring routine? Who knew? I didn't know. So he gave me like $1,200. I said, it's yours. So he actually owns the rights to it.
And he put that in the Stars of Magic.
He put that in the Stars of Magic, and I was the first black man. I'm the only black man in the Stars of Magic.
But he did credit you for it in the Stars.
Oh no, his pictures, everything. He credited me for everything. He did. He did a great job.
Yeah.
I just didn't know it was something that you could sell.
Yeah.
And then I found out he sold it for like 15, 20 years.
Yeah. He got more than his money back.
I think he made his money back. Tony was no joke. He was no fool. Tony knew what
Good businessman.
Tony was a great businessman. Yeah. I'm telling you, like, he didn't get to be a millionaire for nothing.
Well, I mentioned Cellini earlier also.
Cellini.
That's why I wondered. I know you crossed paths with him many a time as well. And he's one of those guys who was kind of an itinerant street magician, and he was known for his ring routine also. Did you guys ever just kind of stop and hang out and share
the nice
ideas?
part about Cellini was cool is even if he saw something that you were doing, he stuck to what he was doing. So he would say, "Wow, that's great. What you're doing is amazing right there." And what Cellini was doing was his method of doing it, which was great. So he didn't change up method because he saw something else. He kept his method. It was smooth, and it was quiet, and it was just Cellini. And that's what you know when you saw that move, that trick. You saw Cellini. And so he did all these smooth moves, quiet moves, no sound,
right?
Perfect move. He wasn't going to change that. No. See, and I'm doing a move where you got sound, you got. My thing is not to look. It's not to be a beautiful routine. I'm not into music and beautiful. My thing was to prove that you can put metal through metal. That's it.
Right.
My job is as a magician is I'm doing something impossible. How is it possible to put metal through metal? Other ones routines, they've already proved it by doing it the first time.
Right.
But now they try to put music to it, and they try to make it beautiful.
They do.
And sound and movement with music and all that kind of, which is fine, but...
Yeah, I think Levent does a great routine.
Everybody has and which is great
Oscar Munoz, everybody.
Because it makes individuals.
I remember at a convention one time in which Oscar Munoz was on the same bill as you, and you both did linking rings.
Oh, yeah.
And it showed to me the difference.
Two different differences.
Completely different.
Yeah.
The same effect, but different presentation.
And we discussed it before.
I remember.
We discussed it before. And it's two, and people don't realize it's two different ways of doing it. One is comic. My thing is comic. I do it all right there.
And it also attracts attention again. I would think that's why you were doing it, is because when you make a noise and it clinks like that, when you're a street performer.
People want to know what people come.
As opposed to a theatrical performance where you're trying to be artistic with it, you know.
See, and I've never been into that because I've always liked comedy. Presto was all comedy.
And your comedy, by the way, has to be quick and edgy, because otherwise people are going to leave. You can't set up a joke and then hit them later.
No,
you got to
hit it fast
right now.
But I get my comedy from Jack Benny.
Oh, really? Okay.
All my comedy comes from Jack Benny. People don't realize
that kind of style.
But if you go watch Jack Benny,
well, you do have great take sides.
That's what the idea, the look
and the eyes. You kind of look, or you point to him and raise your eyebrows.
All that comes from Jack Benny.
Right.
I watched. I was into, and this for years. I was watched probably Jack Benny every day for about 10 years. Mm-hmm. And what I got from Jack Benny was how to make people laugh, applaud, without saying a word. And he doesn't do any profanity or nothing.
Right.
But yet he was seriously funny at the same time. With his cheapness, with his age thing. I got the age idea of going in reverse from Jack Benny. Jack Benny would say 39. That's it.
Yeah.
He would never move from 39. I had a birthday 2 years ago. I was 39 years old. I can't wait till my next birthday. I'll be 39 years old.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? He never left for 39.
Right.
So I changed that and went to another progressive thing.
Yeah, throughout your act, you keep saying
my original number is 65, and by the time I get to the box trick, it's 95. Right, then some people say, do another trick. I said, if I do another trick, I'll be dead.
And they get that. That's a good running gag all the way through.
It's all the way through.
Yeah.
And any good act has to have callbacks and have to have something that runs all the way through it.
And does that work on the street?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, because that's what I'm saying. You got to
kills on the street.
Okay.
Because people don't want to leave now. They want to see what happens.
I see.
They want to see what happens. It's like bringing up a kid on the street. Yeah. People won't leave until the kid leaves. They don't trust you.
Do you use the same kid throughout the whole show, or do you bring up 2 or 3 or 4 different kids?
No. I always try to use as many kids as I can in the show because if you bring up one kid, they all want to get in. So you try to not disappoint them. So you try to bring up as many kids as you can. In my Freddy Cat Rabbit, you see my Freddy Cat Rabbit?
Yes, I
do.
did.
My Freddy Cat Rabbit, I bring up all the kids.
Yeah.
But I act like I only want to bring up one. So what I'll use to the audience, I'll say, okay, I'm going to need some kids to come up. So the first kid that gets up here, that's the kid we're going to use. And they all come rushing up. And I say,
fast as they can.
And I look like okay, you know what? I just use everybody. Okay, and then I get them excited by offering them things they're never going to get. That's the beauty of it.
I'm going to disappoint you, kid.
Oh, yeah. No, I asked that question first. Now, are you kids used to disappointment? That's the first question they go, yes. I say, good. We have no problem there because I'm a magician, not Santa Claus. I just look like Santa Claus.
I can relate.
That's right. I'll either say, you look like Santa Claus, and sometimes I'll say something like, I look like Uncle Remus, and they don't know what I'm talking about. I say, ask your parents.
Yeah.
And then I say, ask your parents.
I do recall you doing that Freddy Cat Rabbit when we were at Abbott's. And in fact, that's where you won the Senator Crandall Comedy Award.
That is one of the first places that I did it on a strong level with at least 150 kids everywhere, and they're jumping up everywhere.
Yeah.
And then at the end, I was going to leave and said, stick around to the end of the Saturday. They didn't tell me why. And at the end, I won the Senator Crandall Award, which I had no idea. They don't tell you in advance.
No.
It's just a shock. Boom, you're done. Didn't even know we was in a contest. I didn't know the contest was on.
Was that your first Abbott's that you attended?
That was my first Abbott's.
That's a fun convention.
Oh, I loved it. I went there 4 more times after that.
Now, speaking of fun conventions, one I never attended was Tannen's.
That
was at Jubilee out in
upstate New York.
Yeah. I can't remember the name of the hotel. Kuchner Hotel or something like that, or they had something maybe before the Kuchner.
Yeah, no, that was the big one.
Okay. Did they have a lot of people attend that? Or
my God, that was a huge event.
Okay.
That's the first time that's the first convention that Lance Burton was at. I was on the same bill as Lance Burton when he just started. Nobody even heard who Lance Burton was.
Oh, as long before he'd won the IBM and all that stuff.
Long before that.
He just was fresh from Louisville.
Yeah, he just came out and brand new.
Was he still doing his dub routine?
This is it. That's the first time he did it. That's why he wanted to test it out at.
Oh, interesting.
And let me tell you something, floored them. That was the day.
He was great back then, even in the beginning. Huh?
No, I don't think he's ever been this great again. It was really, anybody who's seen that day was an opening eye day. You would have said, you thought Dracula was on stage. Seriously. He had those birds so controlled. It was amazing.
What impressed me all the time in his early years, and still does, from the standpoint of how he does, it's so nonchalant the way the birds appear. And he's looking at the audience. He's not looking at his hands or anything else.
He's not even looking at the bird. The bird's taking off. He's going... Yeah.
Very much like a Channing Pollock kind of thing. He kind of got a little bit of a stern look and a handsome
very
man.
Strange,
dark
very
black hair. Like a Dracula look. Like
that was an opening day for me when I saw the bird. That's when I knew I would never do birds.
I was about to ask you, were you not inspired at that point, saying, "Hey, I want to"?
I always did birds, but not like that.
Yeah,
I like everything
on the street.
I did birds on the streets.
Really?
I had 2 birds, one Gertrude, one Heathcliff. You know who?
Yes.
Right, and my 2 birds was trained to stay with me. On the streets and everything, and then some crazy things happened. I stopped doing it on the street because some bum. I used to keep them in a doctor's bag.
Okay, yeah.
And somebody stole the doctor's bag, so we all the guys, we went looking for who stole it. We found it. It was a geek, some geek guy. We called him the geek, right? And he was eating the birds. He was eating them alive.
That's a geek for you.
Yeah.
You know, I always think it's strange when they talk today about the Best Buy Geek Squad. You know, these guys who are
geeks.
Squad. It's like, the geeks are the guys that bit the heads off.
Maybe we got to change the name of that.
Nerds, maybe.
That's true. I don't think they understood that. Remember, they're young people. They don't know about that.
That's an old Carney term.
Yeah, that's old Carney geek. That's what a geek.
I guess you knew AJ too.
Oh, of course I knew AJ. AJ was the first one that made me a mark one time. I was pissed off too, because I didn't know what he was doing. But he put on my. And I had a beautiful jacket. See this jacket here?
Chalk.
And he put chalk on my back on my jacket. I said, how do you know? He says, it's the chalk. $200 jacket, but you put marks on my jacket. AJ was a mess, man.
He was. He was the first Ronald McDonald, I believe, isn't that right?
He said that. I didn't believe him.
Yeah, no, I think he was.
I said, you just ain't the type to be around kids. I'm sorry. I wouldn't leave my kids around you. Why would I leave my kids around AJ?
But he trained a lot of other Ronalds.
Really?
Yeah,
I never knew that. I never knew that. Wow, that is brand news to me. Wow. AJ, really?
And, of course, he had that book on the art of schmoozing.
Art of schmoozing.
Which was really good.
He knew every con in the book.
Well, he was a con.
The man was a serious con, man.
Yeah. I was going to ask, as far as the streets go, particularly in New York and some other places, do you have to get a permit?
Yeah.
Or do you, okay.
These days, now back when I was doing it, we didn't get no permits. We kind of like cops come chase you away to one corner, you just go to another corner. Right,
it was kind of like the guys who had the cardboard box doing the 3-card Monte, I guess.
Same thing. We never asked permission.
Did they assume that you were kind of like those?
In the beginning, they do. In the beginning, they do. They think that after a while,
the cops get to know you.
I'll tell you the truth. Once the cops got to know you, they knew who it was. They knew your name and everything else. Especially we had beat cops back then. So we had the same
cops, right.
So we had the same cops coming back all the time.
Mm-hmm. That was their beat.
That's what their beat. So they knew who was on the beat.
Sure.
And then after a while, they give you permission. They have street cops. The street cops was more like street law. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? There's law on the books, and then there's street law.
Okay.
Street law means cops on their beat do what they want to do, and you do what they want to do. It ain't what you think it is. Because I've gotten in fights with people who are in with the cops better than me.
Wow.
And when they come along, they go, hey, this guy bothering you, okay, and that's it. And I don't care who started the fight or what the problem, you're gone.
Right.
You're
Whoever's side that cop is on, that's the one.
Right. Yeah. I had people come up, when I was on 44th and Broadway, there was a couple cops named Reedy, and he would come along and he would go, yo, what's up, Chris, right there, and I do something for him, something like that. He'd bring his friends, pals, his family, man. And sometimes when I get in trouble, because there's a lot of trouble on the streets, right there, he would come along and say, y'all messing with Chris? See, once you got him good with him, you got him good with him. You do their family parties.
Yeah.
There's ways around it.
Right. But so they basically, you had your own security.
If you did it on 44th and Broadway, now I did it. I used to start off on near where the World Trade Center was.
Yeah.
I used to work around there, 140 Broadway.
That must have been pretty lucrative.
Well, it was great because you only worked there between 11 and 3.
When people get down for lunch.
From 11 and 3 right there. 11 and 3 was always good for about $200.
And now we'll take a short break for a word from our sponsor. Magic at the Beach in Myrtle Beach South Carolina, coming up October 5th, 6th, and 7th. And they have so much talent, so many things going on. One of the things that's going to be happening at the convention is a contest. And contests are the lifeblood, something very important to a lot of conventions, and also to encouraging people to move on and become a professional magician. And to get to be seen and winning these awards. I've got someone with me right now who is an award-winning magician himself, with his own theater there in the Wonders Theater in Myrtle Beach, and he's going to be one of the hosts for Magic at the Beach. Here he is, Charles Bach. Hey there, Charles.
Hey, Scott.
So glad to have you here. I am so excited about the contest. More and more conventions are starting to put less emphasis on contests and actually eliminating them altogether. And what are you doing with your contests, and what are the categories?
So I believe many magicians started off competing in contests, and there's nothing like a deadline to make you better, because you'll work on something and achieve a goal, and you get that opportunity to get feedback and, work. A competition is really something that you have to put your best out there. And at the end of the day, a lot of the magicians that are stars of our convention all competed in contests, all won awards, and all grew from it. So I believe it's a great experience. And we have competitions for close-up and stage for the adults, and we're combining the close-up and stage for the juniors. So it's into one competition.
So there's not going to be a category within stage, I should say, different categories for, like, say, comedy and parlor and stage. There'll just be one stage. Is that correct?
Yes. So the close-up performers will obviously work at a close-up table, and the stage performers will get the stage, whether they do a parlor style, larger show, or comedy magic.
And as mentioned, this is all going to be held there in your Charles Bach's Wonders Theater. And as I understand it, there will be some large screen television monitors so everybody will be able to see regardless where you are seated in the theater.
Yes, we have complete AV facilities. We can do projection. We have side screens and we have camera. So everybody will be able to see everything clearly and experience the magic, as well as give the performers the best opportunity to have a great performance on stage with proper lighting, with proper music, with proper staging.
Right, because you've got the right stage and you've been doing it for a long time. And so it's not going to be something that's just going to be set up in a hotel banquet room and cross your fingers and hope for the best. So this is something you've been doing for a while.
We like to play with all the toys that we have, and we're happy to use them.
And you got about a 200-seat theater, is that right?
It's 200 seats, and it's very intimate, but also very comfortable. And all the sight lines are great for seeing everything.
And people can register for the convention and register for the contest by going to?
Yes, you can go to magicatthebeach.org to register for the convention, and the signups for the contest will take place when you come and pick up your badge. You can sign up for your slot for the magic competitions, and you're all set unless you have any technical needs. And feel free to reach out to our email on the Magic at the Beach page if you have any sound or video or lighting things that are specific, and we'll be happy to help with that.
So you're not going to be required to submit video in advance. You can actually show up on the day of the convention saying, hey, I want to be in the contest?
Yes, some people are going to make that decision last minute, and we're happy to have them.
It's going to be an awesome contest and an awesome convention. As I mentioned, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, moms and dads, who are all the listeners out there, keep in mind this is a 200-seat theater, and so registrations are going to be limited. So you need to go and check this out quickly because it's right around the corner.
Absolutely. Get your registration in, and we look forward to having you at the convention. Thanks
a lot, Charles. I look forward to seeing you there. So please remember to go to magicatthebeach.org for more information. Now back to our conversation for this week's episode. Were there other street performers back then? I mean, when I think of like New Orleans,
street performers, no, not like a plenty. We was a few. Started the streets of New York. I was the first magician on the streets of New York.
What were the other guys doing? Selling, pitching?
Everybody else was trying to do the parks.
Judy Mouse?
I used to do that too.
Okay.
The guy I got was named Tommy Lair. He taught me how to pitch the mouse and how to pitch Spangali decks. So I used to sell 144 decks a day.
And how much those go for back then? $5? $10?
No, $3.
$3, okay.
But we bought them for cheap. Because they were cheap cards. And then we would convince people that these are the cards, these are around $10 a deck. I said, we're going to let you have it, just for you and you from today, for $3.
Yeah.
$3, people. You got to do, how many magic tricks can you do for $3?
Yeah.
Impress your friends. Be the life of the party. Please stop.
There's so many things you could do with the Svengali deck to pitch it.
There's so much bullshit.
But wait, there's more you can do.
But wait, there's more. I see you've been there. But wait, there's more.
I got to have it. No, wait a minute. Keep that money. You might want 2 decks.
That's the move. That's the move. Oh, my God. You have been there. That's what he taught us to say, too.
Yeah.
Hold on to your money. Sometimes we ain't talking to nobody.
Yeah.
No, hold on to your money back there. I know you're in a hurry,
yeah,
but just relax. There's other people here before you.
Kind of reminds me of a jam auction. You ever do any jam auctions, or you been to those? You know what I'm talking about?
I know. I think I know what you're talking about.
Okay,
yeah.
Jam auction is. I went to one in New Orleans one time, and I knew this other magician who was actually part of this thing, and they were pitching, I don't know, carving knives or something, for the kitchen or whatever. And so they were getting a crowd, and then there was this other set of magician in the back who I was talking with, and he said, "Help me." He said, "We need to push these people forward." I said, "What?" He said, "Well, because the guy who was pitching was saying, come a little closer. We don't want to have people out in the sidewalk, blocking the streets." And so we're kind of in the back pushing. We're jamming them in closer to the front. And as more people come in, we would jam them in. So the people up front could not leave. They were like sardines up there. So hence the jam auction.
That's God, man. It's terrible, man. It's terrible. It really is terrible.
Well, you had to have some pretty good stories also from the street. I mean, have you had?
Oh yeah.
I mean, when it's raining.
We working with Tony Echeverrius and Otto Peterson, who was an incredible ventriloquist. I used to work with him together. But the kid was he was like young. He was like 13 years old, Jewish kid. You understand? He was a phenomenal.
I never thought about Vince on the street.
Oh my God, Vince on the street for sure. And he was amazing. If you look up Otto Peterson, you'll see what I mean. It's called Otto and George.
Oh, George was his.
George was the
figure.
The figure, and he couldn't do anything without George. He could barely talk without George.
He was like his counter ego, I guess.
Yeah, people with ventriloquists are a little weird anyway. I mean, it's a very strange thing to want to have this dual personality, because you got to have a dual personality.
Well, there have been movies and TV shows, like a Twilight Zone,
close to truth.
And it really, it is like somebody's got a personality defect. You
do. You have to
almost.
In order to be a great ventriloquist, you have to have a dual personality. You really believe that person exists. In your mind,
you're having a conversation with that same person.
And trust me, and when they are alone, they have the same conversation.
Well,
there's nobody there but him and the dummy, and he's talking like the dummy.
And they're not just working on a script; they're actually.
You should see that. I've heard it. It's really weird.
I would think so. I mean, like they're in the kitchen just fixing breakfast, and they're talking to themselves with the voice and everything.
I've seen Otto do this before he knows I'm there. But then George is inside the case, and he's talking to him. And he's talking to George, and George, you can hear George talking from the case. You gonna let me out? When you let me out? I said, Otto, you got to cut that out. He goes, what? I said, what you're doing there is freaking me out. Yeah. Don't do that. Okay, because it's a weird thing.
It's sometimes hard, Chris, I think, to separate certain things from, your life and reality from stage persona and personality and performing. I remember Vic Kirk and his wife Mary, and Vic is an LA guy. You probably never met Vic, but he was one of these guys who was like Johnny Thompson that knew everything about everything in magic, basically. And I worked with him many times at the Magic Island, and when we'd be sitting at dinner, he'd be talking like we are right now, but his wife Mary would be cutting her steak or something, and she would say a comb, a watch, because she's still
doing the act,
right? Because she's picking up the code. He's saying as we're talking,
right?
And he's just talking normally like you would, I guess. Like how the Evansons would. Can you imagine them at home also?
It's kind of like always practicing, so you don't forget.
Yes, I think you have to.
Everything you do perfectly needs practice, and you just keep doing it over and over and over again. And the reason why I got so good at the rings because I did it every day for 15 years straight.
And how many times a day?
15, 20 times. Right?
Yeah.
Over and over and over again, because that's how you made your money.
Now, at some point, I know when it just has a little bit of light rain, people at some point they don't want to stop and get wet. So
no, they'll go ahead and
they'll watch.
I've seen people stop people in the rain and they got umbrellas. Okay.
What have you got?
If it's pouring, no, but a little drizzle here and there. Yeah. But magicians and entertainers will always step on the side, wait till it stops, and go back out again. It's like being in Florida, Is it raining? Give it 15 minutes.
Yeah.
They may not be ready. See,
Right.
They're just patient, but it's a grind, but it's a young man's thing because as you get older, you just can't do it no more.
Well, that's a good point. I don't see a lot of old people out there.
No, yes, you can't do it no more. Now, there are people who are of age that is still doing it, but they do it in nice places like fairs and city fairs and stuff like that, where it's safe environments. The regular streets is not a safe environment.
Well, like in London, Covent Gardens is a popular place there as well.
You can see anybody there at all. I've done that once.
Okay. What was that experience like?
I had to work along with a bunch of people that was just emulating Gazo. And that's all. Everybody had a satch around their bag.
Right.
And everybody said the same word and did the same jokes.
Is that right?
It was exact. Everything was exact. I said,
Nothing Gazo can really do about that.
Oh, no. It was nothing. Once you put it out there, it's done.
Of course.
People see it, they copy. I've been copied so much, I can't tell you how many times I've been copied. And you shouldn't even do half the stuff I do because I do stuff that you may not be able to get away with.
Well, you use a lot of black and white jokes also.
I get a lot of I do jokes that fits the situation.
Yes.
And if people don't realize that there's not that many black magicians.
Yeah.
Therefore, when I step out on the stage, I think the first thing people notice is he's black. Whether you like it or not, you got to notice that. If you don't notice that, then you're prejudiced. That's when you're prejudiced, when you don't notice he's black. So you go through this whole conversation. You didn't know I was black? I'm black. Okay, so let's deal with that. Okay, if you're ugly, you're ugly. You come out there, and you're ugly. If you're fat, you're fat. So you stand there and try to act like the guy ain't fat. He fat. Okay, so he might well use it, right?
Yeah,
because they're thinking it.
Yeah.
So if you know what people are thinking, you got to use that.
When I was working the Magic Castle recently, and I was working in the parlor, my opening bit was, I would say, ho, ho, ho.
Exactly.
Because
what's
take
a
one
look at
fat
you,
man
and you got the beard, the hair, and everything else. Well, let's get it over with, people.
That's exactly what I said.
Let's get it over.
Let's address the elephant.
Ho, ho. Exactly.
I'd say I meant that as a salutation, not as an indictment.
That's good. But that's what I mean. Put it out there. Once you put it out there, it's over with.
That's right.
Okay? It's that simple. And when you ignore it, and when you go on, if you go on stage, and I think Denny from Denny and Lee used to put this out all the time. He said, there's nothing worse than a 70-year-old man, a 60-year-old man standing on stage with a bunch of 20-year-old girls, and he's doing illusions, and he's acting like these girls are attracted to him. No.
Yeah, they're all dancing around him.
And dancing all around.
Putting their hands all over
And he's trying to do
body.
the same thing, too.
Yeah.
No,
kind of
doesn't.
Inappropriate.
It doesn't work.
No, I agree.
Be who you are.
And wearing spandex and all that. It's 70.
Now you got a terrible image in my head. I can't get rid of it. I can't have breakfast now. It's terrible. But that's how it was, man. So these are good tips to understand. When you and I got to learn this from Billy McComb, because when I was younger, I used to have my chest out. You understand? I used to do a dancing cane, a very sexy thing. I was not so much comedy as much as I produced sex appeal.
Yeah.
And Billy said, when you're young, that's fine. Yeah. But when you get older, what you going to do then? He said, and as you get older, change with your age. Let your act change with your age. Make your act fit your age. So today, I do old jokes.
I always love that line that Billy was saying, well, I'm going to have to close my act now because it's pudding night at the home. That's
right. Tapioca night, baby. Yeah. We ain't missing that for no magic
and
show.
Everybody realized, oh, yeah.
Exactly. And now you relate to people of your own age.
Right.
I do fine. I tell people all the time, look, I'm so sexy. I can pick up a 75-year-old woman just like that. Not a problem.
Not a problem.
Ain't a problem at all.
Now, speaking of which, I know age is a factor when it comes to cruise ships, but I know you've been doing some cruises also. Has there been any issue, or have you encountered anything in which they say, well...
I've never had a problem on a cruise ship. I've had a lot of fun. I've developed a lot of magic tricks on cruise ships because I have to adjust tricks to fit what the occasion is, because sometimes when the ship is moving like this, right. you don't want to be doing a floating table or something like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it floats right on out
right.
off the stage.
So certain things you have to adjust to, and the rooms are sometimes depends if you're doing the stage or you're doing a room. and I did a lot of rooms and everything. But either way, it comes.
Well, I stopped contacting the agents on that because I kind of thought I've aged out of that and didn't want to go back and do some ships anymore because I thought there are older people who are going on cruises and they don't want to see another guy look like them. They want
but that's where you're wrong.
Am I? Okay.
No, old people don't want to see young people.
Oh,
they don't
really?
say, why?
Remind them of what they were.
They don't want to be reminded.
Okay, I see.
They don't want to know.
Yeah.
They have more fun with somebody who relates to their age.
And same experiences they've had.
Same experience.
When you say, where were you when Kennedy died? They knew.
And just keeping it right, you understand, most cruise ships are loaded with older women, not men. There are more women on there, right? And they get a chance to look at this spry, older guy on the stage, and who do you think they lusting after?
Me.
That's right.
That's right.
I don't care because that's hey, and he moving too. Hey, so but a young guy on the stage just dancing all around there.
Yeah, there's nothing we can do with him.
They know we do him. He know they ain't interested in him, and it's inappropriate for them to approach him anyway.
Sure.
Otherwise, because they do love people their own age. The best acts I've ever seen on Crystal and some of those cruises, which is nothing but people over 55.
That's right. Yeah, we're Crystal.
They're over 55.
Yeah.
Right,
they got great attention to you also. I love Crystal.
You know they give it all, man. And the oldest woman on the ship who eventually died on the ship that I was working on, right? They invited me to dinner and everything, come there to sit and talk to me and stuff like that. And I did a birthday party for her. I did a 20-minute birthday party for her. And at the end of the cruise, she just sent a butt upstairs and gave me like $700.
Wow.
Just because talking to her,
sure.
Just all. But she would have never done that to a younger guy.
Interesting. No, that's true.
No, you have a lot of appeal with age. Age has a benefit. It just has a serious negative part too. The age part is, for some reason, you're more calmer. Some people even look better. I look better older than I did younger. And beard, they love my beard. They love my beard. They love and being white hair. Oh my God. Oh, you would think that would be something wrong.
Well, you are a handsome man, and the beard frames your face.
They love. I tried to dye my hair one time, and nobody liked it. They said, "No, let it go gray, let it go white. It's much nicer." Everybody loves that. That's fine. The negative part of old age is all these damn pains. No one told me about that, but the steps.
Yeah.
Okay. No one told me about
getting up and out of a chair.
And getting up out of bed. You can't. No one told me about that part.
There's a downside.
And then here we are, magicians. We're all sitting around doing what? We used to talk about different sleights and ornades and all that stuff. Now we talk about prescription medicine,
hospitals, operations.
Which operation did you get this week? See, that's the negative part.
Yeah, exactly.
Old age is it's like a step into hell.
Well, speaking of which, that was another thing is that I saw recently, of course, the Gazzo had a stroke, which was his second stroke.
I just heard about that.
Which I think he's recovering from.
I hope so.
I think he'd gone back to England. I know they had a GoFundMe for him, and by the time people are listening to this, I'm confident from what I have heard. I believe Howard Hamburg was one who told me that he went back to England and
Howard told me too.
Medicine.
Howard told me too. Yeah.
So hopefully he's by the time people hear this is great.
Gazzo's a great guy, man.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff he used to do just cracked me up. I would never do it, and I'm bold.
I was going to say, what could he possibly do that you wouldn't do?
I can tell you some things he'd do that I would never do.
Like
I saw Gazzo pick out this, he does it on my show, pick out a black guy. He looks for a big black guy, and he says, he kind of tells him what to say under his breath. He says, say you're from Chicago or New York, whatever it is. So he says, hey, what's your name? He says, he said, where you from? The guy would say, Chicago. He says, oh, turn around, let me make me feel at home. And he turns around and frisks him. You want to see something crazy. This is crazy, man.
Well, Johnny Fox was another guy I thought had some crazy. I want to say it may have been Gazzo now that I think back about that, but I think it was Johnny Fox when he had a plastic Ziploc bag or something.
Oh, yeah. I know the bit with the knife.
No, he was saying, take this home, kid. This is a space helmet.
That's wrong. That's wrong. Right. To a kid?
Yeah, to a kid.
Oh, no, that's totally wrong.
Even you wouldn't do that.
No, he should be locked up. I would never do that one. That's hilarious. It's funny now. I ain't saying it wasn't funny.
I still
but it's wrong.
Joke with my son about that and my granddaughters.
Take this home.
It's a space helmet.
That's funny. I thought you were going to do the bit with the knife and the fingerprint thing.
What is that?
You know, the one you say, hey, here's a knife. Could you hold this knife for a moment? Then you take out a plastic bag to put it here.
Yes.
I'm going to be talking to my wife tonight.
Yeah. I think Steve Bragazzi does that gag.
Steve Bragazzi does all that kind of. That's one of my favorite performers.
Yeah. Steven is wonderful.
I can watch Steven all day.
Yeah, right. Yeah. He has really always been good, and he relates to the audience.
He's a great closer.
Mm-hmm.
Because
he opens for his son now.
If you have if you have a show, but if you want a good closing, Steve will gather all the information he can and
leading up to that. So this way,
and at the end, he'll just boom, right? It'll hit you hard too, and so you start remembering. So basically, I call a guy like that is a guy who has nothing but callbacks. So at the end, you got all these callbacks, and you remember all these things, but now they're much funnier because now he done made a joke out of them.
Yeah,
incredible guy,
and not necessarily afraid to be on the edge.
Takes no prisoner, and that's the way to go. You know, Penn Jillette mentioned that one time to me. He says, you know, don't hold back. Do what you do, and don't worry about nobody else.
Now, you were on Penn and Teller Fool Us.
Oh, yeah.
And they were surprised. I mean, they're not supposed to know. Penn and Teller are not supposed to know who's going to be there or anything.
From what I know, from what I've heard, they don't know that you're coming.
Right. And so when they saw you, were they kind of surprised? Hey, Chris,
it was like, whoa. Okay, really?
What was the trick you did for them?
I did 3 tricks. I did one I'm going to do tonight called Push, which I created and made up. And I did a light bulb trick. And then I did one where I blew a balloon and then put another balloon inside a balloon. And I told them I would pop the balloon in the middle without touching it. And I did.
Okay.
And then they said, oh, it has to be done with some kind of a pin. And it wasn't.
So you pulled it.
And
you got a trophy.
And I got a trophy. So now I, too, have one of those plastic things.
Yeah. Is that one of your favorite trophies? No? It's just a trophy.
I have a lot of them. I have a lot of awards, and I think it's an award that's definitely worth having.
Sure,
because it's a bragging thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
But I won the Melbourne Christopher Award.
Is that the most precious one to you?
It is really nice.
Did you get that during the Salute to Magic or something, or was that special?
I got that. No, it wasn't Salute to Magic. You have to. It's an award that they have to. It's a surprise award. You can't apply for it. You can't do it. You have to be. It just comes out of nowhere.
Is that the SAM or who awards it?
I don't know.
How were you notified?
Michael Miller called me up. Yeah. Then Howard Hamburg called me up and said that you won this award, and they had to come to Connecticut to get it. And so I was working at the time at Liberty Magic in Pittsburgh, and I had 2 more days. I worked there a month. I had 2 more days where I had to give that up to go and get the award. And I wasn't going at first. And then these people called me and said, Chris, you should go get this award. And when I went, I was totally shocked. They had a theater. They had a layout that you wouldn't believe. It was insane. It was a beautiful award.
How many people came to the
must be at least, I would give, I'll say about 100.
Okay.
It was really nice awards. And the way they laid it out was amazing. It was just
were there other awards, or that was the only award? It was
no. Michael Mamar he won an award that day too. And several other people won awards that day. We got all kind of categories.
Okay.
And
it's not from the Alan Slate part.
I don't really know.
Okay.
I'll tell you the truth. I didn't even know there was a Melbourne Christopher Award. And but it's worth getting. And it's I got the Lifetime Achievement Award for contributions to magic.
Was that from the AMA?
That was from
for the Melbourne Christopher.
Melbourne Christopher.
Sure, okay.
And they gave you a huge plaque, and they gave you a cane, a wand that when you open the box up, the wand rises up.
Oh my, that's pretty cool.
It's absolutely a gorgeous wand. You got to see this insane. And I don't even use a wand.
Yeah.
But looking at this was just beautiful. And they gave you this dinner, and they gave you this whole talk. It was just a great day. I was very, 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 very happy I went. It was one of the best awards I ever got, and of course I think the shocker was the one at Abbott's.
Oh, at Abbott's, because you were not expecting. Like you said, you didn't even know it was a contest.
I'm about to walk out the door.
Yeah.
Okay, and when I'm winning this award for comedy,
it
was the award for comedy. I was like, this is amazing. And then at the same year, On the same year I won that award, I won the Legend Award at Monday Night Magic for Legends of Magic. So I won that award for that.
Was that presented there at
Monday Night? At Monday
Mm-hmm.
Night Magic. That was a nice affair. And at the same, which I was just, only thing I'm disappointed in, for 16 years I've been trying to win Parlor Magician of the Year at the Magic Castle. And I've been nominated like 15 times in a row. Every year I'm nominated. So it was a very difficult award to win. And the same year during COVID, I win it.
You did.
I won it, and that it had to be presented on Zoom. That was disappointing because I really wanted to do it the live because there's nothing beat live.
Right.
But still, no, I was really. It's the one award that I worked so hard to get, and I finally got that award, so that was good.
Wow. So, is that your favorite room to work?
Deep River. It's the best room ever. If you've ever worked that room, it's like because it's where you can best with people.
Sure.
You can't really get into some people on the stage as much, but that room, they all yours.
Well, the close-up gallery is good too. I've worked a close-up gallery a lot.
Gallery. I've never worked a close-up gallery.
Typically, that's where I work, and I worked in 1983 at the Parlor, and and ever since then, I've always been back to the gallery.
Yeah.
And when I talked to Jack Goldfinger then recently, I said I'd like to come back to the Parlor. It was 40 years since I've been there.
Yeah, see,
so
that's
but
what I
I
mean.
went back and said, man, I feel like I'm home again. This is just
I've never
very
worked
comfortable.
a close-up room, and I told Jack this year I think I'm going to work close-up room. So he said, "Cool, we'll work close-up room." So it'll be my first time working a close-up room.
So much fun.
And so much work.
And well, it is.
Because you got to do maybe like 4 shows a day.
That's correct.
And they never get cancellations. See, upstairs you get cancellations.
Well, in close-up also, every time I've been there, when I work the late shows, they say, well, there may not be a last show. No, there's always a last
show.
And it's packed.
And there's people there.
Yeah.
They won't go home.
No, it's after 1 o'clock, and they're still coming. Yeah. And it's L.A. I mean, come on.
I know.
What are you doing tomorrow? Don't you have a job? Come on, people.
And you're drinking.
Yeah.
Things that happen in the night when drinking.
Well, that was when I first worked there. The Bill Larson had said to me, do you want to work early or late? And it was my first time. I said, I don't know. And he said, well, the difference is they're more attentive to you during the early ones. And then the later ones, you have to deal with people who have been a little bit inebriated. And he said, what kind of a crowd do you like? And I kind of deal with both. And I like, messing with drunk people.
Well, then you need, if you can stay up that late, it's late.
Yeah, and I have worked them a lot. And so anyhow, I do. It was
late fun. Bothers me a lot.
Well, as I'm getting older, I like the early ones.
I've done it exactly. What happens when you got 2 old people? Because I was supposed to. I'm working with Rich Block last time. We were there in January. I was there in January, and I'm working with Rich Block. And Rich is like 80 years old.
So you both want to do early.
And we both want to do early, but I got to bow down to my senior.
Yeah.
And Rich is a buddy of mine. So
mine too.
What can I tell you? I said, okay, Rich.
Yeah.
Him
and Susan are so great. I used to spend a lot of time with them at their house, and I haven't seen him in so many years. So
I just talked to him this morning before I came here.
Well, when you talk to him next time, tell him hello for me.
I will.
I'm
we're going to be talking about. He wants me to go on a cruise.
Well, that's right. He's booking those.
Right.
Yeah.
And we'll see. It's
we'll see.
10 days, 15 days. I don't know.
What else you got to do?
I have a lot to do. That's my problem. I still work for Monday Night Magic and several other places. I still work for Smoke and Mirrors and all those places.
Yeah, when I come to the city, I always stay over at Michael Chout's house.
There you go.
And I worked the Monday Night Magic then one time, and I've got one of the jackets.
Oh, you got the jacket too?
Got it right there. In fact, look, I'm going to show you this.
Oh yes, yeah. That's the jacket, all right.
Yep. And Michael had got my name, on the front and everything then too. So because he said those are only for performers.
Yeah, whatever you get. Everybody still don't have one of those.
Is that right?
Everybody don't have one of those. No. I didn't know you even had one because you got to make them up.
They do.
Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Well, listen, I've enjoyed this. I can't believe I just looked at my watch and holy moly, that runs through this.
This is how we work when I'm on stage.
Well, exactly.
They tell me 10 minutes. How is that possible?
It's not.
So I'm going to do 10 minutes tonight. And I'm the closer.
Yeah. Well, I like that kind of a thing where it's just organic and things happen and so I'm sure it's going to be a great show.
It's more realistic, more happening with the people instead of being stiff and everything like that.
Right. I don't like having an agenda.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Let it flow.
Right.
Let it flow. Thanks, man.
The one thing I do want to ask you as we close, and the name of my podcast is called the Magic Word Podcast, so I always ask my guests, what is your philosophy of life? What is it you live by that's important to you?
I think it's very important for me to be happy. If I'm not happy, I can't make nobody else happy. I used to tell my wife that too. Listen, when I come home, you want me to be happy. It's very important that I'm happy, because if I'm happy, I can make you happy.
Yeah.
It don't take much to make me happy. I'm a very simple person, you understand? But I when I was a kid, I didn't have enough toys, as far as I'm concerned. Now I buy everything. Everything. I got toys, I got trains, planes, boats, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
I enjoy just getting up and having free time. So I picked out a career that gives me free time. I don't want to have a show 365 days a year. Somebody say, I got 365 days show, then you're doing something wrong.
You don't want to be David Copperfield.
Right. What you want is to have 10 shows and make it just enough money and have all this free time. I like my time to sit around, talk to people, go see friends, do whatever. Just comfort. Working is fun when I do it, but I don't want to do it all the time. So every week I do not work. I work right now, I work probably 10 times a month.
Okay.
That's it. I like getting up at 11, 12, 1 o'clock. This is too early right now. Okay.
When I called you at 11:30.
There you go. I was just going, what? Exactly. That was my first feeling. Was, why is he calling me this early? But I'm good now.
Well, what time do you go to bed at night?
Last night we went away at 4.
Okay.
But that's normal hours for me.
Oh.
And when I'm home, same thing. I go to bed around 2.
I don't go to bed until about 11.
I'm playing games. I have games. I have lots of games. I got Oculuses. I enjoy it. I don't drink and I don't smoke. My biggest vice is toys. I like toys. I like Pac-Mans. I like things like that.
Interesting.
I just like to play with stuff like that. Electronics. I love electronics.
Boy, yeah. There's been really a boom in that of late then as well.
Yeah, I like electronics.
Well, thank you very much. And I think that's a great philosophy then also is just be happy so you can make other people happy.
And you don't know when the day is going to end, so every day get up and enjoy that day.
That's right. You never know.
You don't know when it's going to end.
Because eventually you're going to be right.
Eventually you're going to be right. Kiss your wife, hug your kids, and do something good for yourself.
And tell everyone you love them.
There you go. You know, same philosophy.
I love you, man.
I love you, man.
So for the Magic Word Podcast, that was Chris Capehart. This is Scotty out. Wow. Thanks very much, Chris. That was a great conversation, and I enjoyed getting to hang out with you for an hour and have just an exclusive time to chat, just the two of us. That was so much fun, and I learned a lot there, too. And I hope that you, the listener, got as much out of it as I did. That was a lot of fun. Well, I want to again remind everybody about the Magic at the Beach that's going to be coming up next week. And so we'll be providing you with daily coverage from that convention, as we always do when we attend Magic conventions. We give you those reports and updates with conversations from some of the organizers, talents, and registrants and the dealers. So you get a general idea and flavor of what it's like to attend the convention if you can't make it. But hopefully you'll come out early, play a little bit of golf, or stay late and play a little bit of golf and enjoy Magic at the Beach. And, of course, more information at magicatthebeach.org. So, until next week, stay well, get booked, and remember to do something good for yourself and tell everyone that you love them. This is Scotty out.